Bears wideout Allen Robinson. Welcome, Allen. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me.
Now, of course, man, look, individually, over the course of the last 3 seasons that you've been with the Chicago Bears, you've had a remarkable run. Team-wise, though, that success has been hard to find consistently, right? Been a little bit up and down. How would you kind of describe your time in Chicago?
Yeah, again, I mean, for the most part, teams have it a lot worse when it comes to up and down. Again, I mean, we haven't had a losing record over the past 3 seasons. We did finish 8-8 over the past couple of years, but 2 out of my 3 seasons there, we did go to the playoffs. So just trying to continue to find some consistency and build coming into this season.
A season that I know you said you are prepared to play on the franchise tag, and you'll be there. You were there for mandatory minicamp. You'll be there for training camp. But we are about 15 days away from that deadline to get a long-term deal. I see the smile on your face. You know what's coming here. Are you confident that something like that's going to happen in Chicago?
Again, I mean, we'll see. I think the biggest thing, like I said, is just about going out there this year, having fun, making plays, trying to help this team get back to the playoffs. I think that's the main thing. That's what I've set out, throughout the course of this offseason. Every time I get on the field, into my workouts and things like that, is how can I get better? How can I help put this team? How can I help put this offense in a better situation than we were in last year?
Well, it's a great mindset. Obviously, one that served you well as you head into your 8th NFL season. One that will feature a new quarterback this year, one way or another. New starting quarterback for your Chicago Bears. Your head coach, Matt Nagy, has said it's going to be Andy Dalton. He is QB1. But do you still feel like there's an opportunity for Justin Fields to be a starting quarterback for the Bears this season?
Again, I have no idea. That's all up to the coaches and stuff like that. I've been able to communicate with Andy since he signed and Justin since he was drafted. So just being able to communicate, both with those guys. Even as we went into mandatory minicamp practice, being able to get reps with both, and do different things like that. It was fun. Again, for me, it was just fun being able to talk football with those guys, kind of pick the quarterback's minds, and just continue to build on anything that we're seeing while we're out on that grass.
And Allen, you've had an opportunity now, 7 years into the league, to play with a lot of young quarterbacks. Are there things that you've noticed in their play, coming into the NFL that allows you to think to yourself, like, okay, he'll be ready. He's ready now. Like, I see this. Like, once that starts to click, do you notice anything specifically?
It's tough to say. Once you kind of get out there on Sundays, it's a different flow to the game and things like that. So you see a lot of guys honestly coming to their own. Once they get out there, once they're able to build from game to game, and kind of polish the things that they're doing well, and kind of pick up on some of the things that they're not doing so well. So I think when it comes to, and even for myself being a young player in the league, I think I found myself getting better each and every week. But for the most part, as I was diving into the film and kind of dissecting myself, it was on Sundays where I was finding the things where I was able to critique myself and really get better.
Well, you've done a phenomenal work on the field and off the field with your Within Reach Foundation. You guys are opening a second reading zone here now. So tell us a little bit more about that and what it means to you to be a part of that cause in Chicago.
Yeah, so this past Tuesday, we just opened our second reading zone. And it's an honor to be able to do that. Again, being able to create places like this and opportunities like this in the city, providing literature and things like that, that's something that our foundation set out to do, from day one, and being able to have the support of the community and the support from my teammates and others, we've been able to make some serious impacts in the city. Also this year, taking on and being able to partner with some food programs and things like that to provide some food for the inner city as well.
Well, Allen, keep up the phenomenal work, man, both on and off the field. We love seeing it, and you can help Allen out. Get involved at AllenRobinson12.org. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Wish you all the best as training camp approaches.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Elsewhere, among the wide receiver ones in the NFC North, Packers wideout Davante Adams and Raiders quarterback Derek Carr, as you know, highly productive teammates in college at Fresno State. Carr, in a recent interview, emphasizing his love and respect for Adams as a player and a person, said he'd be putting a full-court press on recruiting Davante when the time comes. Adams, in the last year of his deal in Green Bay, says he'll play out this year and see what happens in the future, which of course got us thinking about some of the other notable quarterback pass catcher duos that have been reunited now from their days in college in the NFL. Happened a lot in this year's draft. Burrow and Jamar Chase now in Cincinnati. Tua and Jalen Waddle, Alabama teammates, now Dolphins teammates. Even in Jacksonville with fellow first-round picks, Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne teammates in Clemson and now down in Duval County. Back here with Michael Robinson and Cynthia Freeland. Rob, is there another QB pass catcher duo from college that you'd like to see reunited in the NFL?
Yeah, his name was on that list. Jalen Hurts, quarterback Jalen Hurts for the Philadelphia Eagles, and wide receiver Calvin Ridley from the Atlanta Falcons. First of all, Calvin Ridley has been balling, right? It's like this guy's been almost the #1 receiver for over a year now. Julio Jones has some issues, you know, being hurt and things like that. This guy has turned into the clear #1 receiver, and he is a route technician. He is always open. I can imagine Jalen Hurts sitting in that pocket, surveying the field, just waiting on his #1 stud and Calvin Ridley to get open. That'd be awesome to see these two reunited. Like, it feels so good like they were back in Alabama in 2016 to 2017.
I'm not going to sing to you, but I loved that song. But I'm looking at Baker Mayfield, and I think Mark Andrews should join him. I understand he's at the Ravens now, and going to the Browns would be like sacrosanct. I don't know if anyone would like it, but they are both really special at their position, and that Oklahoma reunion would provide Baker Mayfield with that big body between the hashes to catch those passes that maybe if he's under pressure, he needs a little bit more of an outlet. I understand that Jarvis Landry lines up in the slot quite a bit, but think about Mark Andrews, like that huge, so tall. It'd be great.
I've got one that's slightly more vintage for you. What about Matthew Stafford and A.J. Green back between the hedges at Georgia? They are, in fact, in the same division now, so I guess they're getting closer. Think about it. All right, guys, good work. Hey, the NFL's Fan of the Year contest presented by Captain Morgan Original Spiced Rum returns for 2021, and we are looking to celebrate more extraordinary fans who are a positive influence and inspire others through their love of football. Visit NFL.com/fan of the year for your chance to win and attend Super Bowl 56 right here in Los Angeles. Okay, couple questions for you after the break. One, does winning the Defensive Player of the Year award edge out the Colts for the AFC South crown a season ago? Jags and Texans with some ground to cover in the race. And Cynthia Freeland now gives us a look at each team's journey to a division title through the lens of their toughest stretch on the 2021 schedule.
The Houston Texans' toughest 4-game stretch of the season comes in weeks 4 through 7.
Justin Reed on the DB blitz.
Beginning with a trip to Buffalo to face Josh Allen and the Bills. Houston then returns home for another AFC East opponent as they face Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots before finishing the stretch with road games against the Colts and Cardinals. The Texans have another difficult game in week 8 against the Rams.
And the Texans are going to do it today.
Carson Wentz has his work cut out for him early, as the Indianapolis Colts' toughest 4-game stretch is in weeks 2 through 5 of the 2021 season.
Gotta love it.
Which starts with a home game against another quarterback who changed teams this offseason in Matthew Stafford and the Rams. Indy then tackles their only 3-game road trip of the season in Tennessee, Miami, and Baltimore. All 3 of those teams won at least 10 games last season and are playoff contenders in 2021. Their first 2 road games are toss-ups in my model, but the Colts' win probability is just 46.7% against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens.
The best part about it is we're coming back and we're going to win it.
New head coach Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jaguars have their toughest 4-game stretch after their Week 7 bye.
You have fun.
Starting with a cross-country trip to face Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks. Jacksonville then returns home to face Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and the Buffalo Bills. The stretch finishes with games against the Indianapolis Colts and San Francisco 49ers. My model gives Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars about a 45% chance to win each of the final 3 games during this stretch.
Caught for the touchdown. Hasta la vista. Touchdown, Chanel.
The Tennessee Titans made a big splash this offseason, adding Julio Jones as they look to repeat as AFC South champs.
Your AFC South champs.
To do so, Tennessee must navigate a difficult stretch during the middle of their season in weeks 6 through 9, starting with games against both 2020 AFC Championship game participants in the Buffalo Bills and Kansas City Chiefs, where my model has them as slight underdogs in both games. Tennessee then travels to Indy for a divisional matchup with the Colts before heading west to face Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams.
And the Titans are going to win another heart stopper.
We survive.
Will the Titans once again take the division? This division may come down to which team can navigate these stretches best.
And tomorrow on NFL Total Access, Cynthia putting her game theory to the AFC West. You can read and share more. NFL.com/game theory. And now time for a little read and react here. Full house. Cynthia Imrob and Mark Ross back here. And the Cardinals, in the midst of a playoff run before a late season collapse, ended those hopes. But the team making some big acquisitions this offseason. And with Kyler Murray heading into year 3, wideout Christian Kirk telling the GMFB crew this morning, it is now or never for the Cardinals. Cynthia, do you agree?
I completely agree. This team is quite boomer bust. They made a big splash this offseason, obviously J.J. Watt being one of the bigger names in this whole acquisition season, A.J. Green as well. Kyler Murray's got to get it together in order to get paid. Cliff Kingsbury, it's his 3rd season. We got to see what happens with this team in a very difficult NFC West.
Okay, how about 2019 NFL Defensive Player of the Year and Patriots corner Stephon Gilmore? Taking note on Twitter of the top 10 cornerback salaries in the league heading into this year, and, well, not seeing his name listed among them. Not super excited about it either, it seems. Did not attend mandatory minicamp. Mark Ross, what's the best way to handle a situation like this with a player that holds out?
Well, Red, I'm going to just talk to Stephon as if we had him in the office. Stephon, look, we want you to be a Patriot for life. I know you see those numbers and they look out of whack and you feel disrespected, but that's no reflection of how we feel about you as a player. That was just more of the timing of those contracts in relation to yours. We're working tirelessly with your agent to get a deal done that's both fair for you and the team, and to prove to you and show that you're a valuable commodity for us as a winning team and a winning organization moving forward. So we're going to get it done. Let's keep it professional. Mark. Let's keep it out of the media, and let's move forward the Patriot way.
Somebody clip that off and send it over to New England. I think we figured this thing out here. Way to work, Mark Ross. All right, after 5 years in Detroit to start his career, Ndamukong Suh signed a huge contract with the Miami Dolphins. Played out half, though, of that 6-year deal before the Dolphins released him. And Suh now acknowledging some missteps he made with his teammates in Miami, within the organization, saying he lacked tact in trying to communicate his thoughts and ideas of direction for the team. Suh then tweeting the formula that he believed would have served him much better, which includes a major emphasis on listening over talking. Right there. All right, Mike Rob, give us a sense here, your reaction to Suh's kind of reckoning here.
Man, kudos to you, Suh. For real, big dog. Look, I played against you. There were times where even as an opponent, I thought you were a jerk because, man, I couldn't move you. I couldn't hit you, couldn't get you off your game. But, man, kudos to you showing everybody how you've matured. See, guys, usually you don't see guys have these epiphanies until their career is over, right? This was a guy who's always been a leader in the locker room. This is a guy who's always had a tremendous amount of pressure on him, a high pick. And last year, he finally saw some success in the National Football League from a team standpoint, and they won a Super Bowl. So what you're hearing is Ndamukong Suh just reflecting on such a great career, and he finally got the prize last year. Kudos to Suh, man. I'm glad you've grown up in the National Football League to the point where you can state things like this. What great mental health space that he has right now.
And Suh also doing some great things, encouraging financial literacy. Go check him out on social media for some of those endeavors as well. Mike Rob, thank you, my man. And we continue here with a look at some of the latest headlines around the NFL. Dak Prescott, despite the severe leg injury of last season, inking a massive long-term deal now with the Cowboys. 4 years, $160 million, and telling Sage Steele on ESPN how much, or rather how little, the contract actually weighed on him following the injury.
I really wasn't. I've never played this game for money. That's never been a motivating factor for me. I grew up in a single-wide trailer. I had more money in my account. I had more money when my leg was broke than I ever had, and I knew that I'd do well with that. So I didn't. I put so much into this game. It's been my life that whether it was here, whether it was, unfortunately, I didn't want to think somewhere else, but I knew that I was going to be able to rewrite everything that I wanted to, as long as I just stayed positive and faithful, that this was just a hiccup, and that's all it was.
This year, Clutch Sports hired prominent agent Nicole Lynn as the president of their football operations. And Lynn now has a new book out dispensing some of the advice that helped her get to this point, and she shared some of it with the GMFB crew this week.
You know, my advice would be, we hear a lot about getting a seat at the table. I define getting a seat at the table as getting the same opportunities as men at the same time. I'm going to say that again, getting the same opportunities as men at the same time. So being very cognizant of your career, whether you're going to be a sports agent or an attorney or a doctor, making sure that as your male counterparts are getting promoted early on, that you're making sure that you're also getting promoted. Not fighting for the seat at the table when you get to the board level or executive position in your career, but fighting for a seat at the table right now.
And some great news for college athletes. Starting today at midnight, every NCAA athlete can pursue financial deals that take advantage of their name, image, and likeness. The NCAA Board of Directors agreeing yesterday to suspend the rule prohibiting athletes from doing just that, a day before laws go into effect in several states that will legally allow student athletes to make that money. And, well, some NFL players are taking notice. Rams and former Florida State corner Jalen Ramsey reacting to the news, saying, yeah, whoa, this is huge news. Indeed, it is. And Bucs and former LSU Tiger running back Leonard Fournette also tweeting, saying, you guys take advantage now. Learn how to manage your money while still playing in college before you get those big dollars in the NFL. And this is NFL Total Access. I am Rhett Lewis, and I am not in the business of making predictions.
Hello and welcome into NFL Total Access. I'm Omar Reese. Lots to talk about regarding Carson Wentz and his extreme makeover quarterback edition, plus Dak Prescott's prediction for Cowboys fans. But first, some news on the Washington football team. And for more on that, let's bring in Mike Garafolo. Mike, the NFL launched an investigation late last summer into allegations of harassment and workplace misconduct. And today, the NFL handed out a record-setting fine. What more can you tell us about that?
That's correct, Omar. Today, the NFL announcing the outcome of the investigation conducted by independent counsel Beth Wilkinson and Commissioner Roger Goodell, finding, according to the league's release, closed publicly. But the NFL saying only oral reports in this case. Some folks did find that odd, including lawyers Lisa Banks and Deborah Katz, who are representing a bunch of former Washington football team employees. They called it, quote, a slap in the face to hundreds of women and former employees who came forward in good faith and at great personal risk to report a culture of abuse at all levels.
Mike, on that video we kept seeing over your report, the focus was Dan Snyder, of course, the owner of the Washington football team. We already knew that there was an organizational restructure that happened earlier this week. What more can you tell us about that?
Well, that would be Tanya Snyder, Dan's wife, becoming co-CEO. Now, she will take over the day-to-day operations of the team, and Dan Snyder will step aside to focus on other team orders of business, including a new stadium. Now, there was a report at one point, a Washington radio report, that stated that Beth Wilkinson, who conducted the investigation, suggested that Snyder sell the team. Janet Novus, special counsel for the NFL, was asked about that and said, no, Wilkinson was only charged with assessing the workplace and making recommendations for how to improve the workplace going forward, not in regard to Snyder's future. So in this case, it's going to be at least for the next several months that Tanya Snyder will handle the day-to-day operations. The NFL, by the way, saying that that was voluntary for Dan Snyder to step away and allow Tanya to handle the day-to-day operations. No firm time frame, just at the very least a couple of months in which that will be the case. Tanya Snyder running the day-to-day operations. But in the end, Dan Snyder gets to keep the team, and I suppose that is the headline for a lot of folks here who believe that maybe that should have been the penalty in this case, but Commissioner Roger Goodell not agreeing with that.
Yeah, big note there. Voluntary, that move to have Dan Snyder focus on getting that new stadium built. And of course, Washington has been saying for months now that they've been changing that culture with Ron Rivera, Jason Wright, and the rest of that organizational shakeup in the last couple of years. Mike Garafolo, thank you very much. We'll have more from you in a little while in the show. Elsewhere in the NFC East, Dak Prescott and his dancing there ought to be in a great mood after he was on hand in Omaha watching his Mississippi State Bulldogs win the College World Series. Perhaps even more motivation for Dak in hopes of leading Dallas to its first Super Bowl title in more than 25 years. Of course, Dak's coming back from that gruesome season-ending ankle injury in October, but now fully healthy heading into training camp. He told KXAS NBC5 it's going to be a big year in Big D.
A lot of improvement, obviously from last year to this year, but deeper than that from those first 5 games. Take those first 5 games and just say we're going to be better than that as a team. We're going to play more complementary football from defense to offense to special teams, and then we're going to have a healthy team. We're excited for this year. It's going to be very, very special for us and for Cowboy fans.
Let's bring in Brian Baldinger and James Palmer. Baldy, being a former Cowboy, you understand the high expectations in Dallas every single season. We were having similar conversations last year. We know the offense has the playmakers to be special, but that defense, look out. They brought in Dan Quinn. What's your recipe for a special season for the Cowboys this year in 2021?
Well, I share some of Dak's optimism about the upcoming season. But he said a real important phrase in there, Omar. He said, we got to play better complementary football. Their defense in his first 5 starts last year was awful. I mean, they were giving up 44 points a game and a forced Dak in games against Cleveland when they're down 41-14 to air it out every play. So if you look at Dak's stats last year, they are awfully inflated. And I'm not downgrading what Dak did. He was just trying to compete and stay in these games. But it was awful to watch, and we all saw it. And so, look, Dan Quinn comes in there, a ton of new talent coming over on the defensive side, very young. It's going to take a while to mold that. But in the time being, offensively, they're the best team in the NFC East. And I don't know if it's enough to win the East, but that should be their goal, to win the East, and not just win the East, but win playoff games, because if you win the East, you're playing at home. And I think Jerry Jones, his mandate, we got to win a playoff game this year with a healthy Dak and a paid Dak.
Well, you're exactly right. I don't think Mike McCarthy was brought in by Jerry Jones just to make it to the playoffs. It was to win playoff games. And you look at the way they're lined up this year. They have the second easiest schedule in all of football. This is arguably the worst division in all of football. And they have hands down the best quarterback in the division by far. And 8 of their first 9 games are against teams that didn't make the playoffs a year ago. So they're set up well, specifically for this defense to hopefully get rolling early with their 3rd defensive coordinator in 18 months. But to me, also helping out that defense could be potentially running the football a little bit more. You heard all those numbers that Baldy had to throw out there because they were throwing the football so much to stay in these games. Well, Ezekiel Elliott has a bit of a chip on his shoulder this offseason, Omar, and a lot of reports out of Dallas is that his feet are a lot quicker than they have been in the last couple of years. Last year, he's coming off of a year where he had a career low in yards per carry, and touchdowns. Could potentially getting him the football a little bit more with a maybe rejuvenated Ezekiel Elliott help out this defense, keep him off the field. We know how many playmakers they have. That could help out this group. And again, staying healthy could be a big part of that optimism. You heard Dak say that as well.
James, to your point, Dallas won playoff games under Jason Garrett, but they never put that deep playoff run together. Certainly the Cowboys looking for that in 2021. Just having a winning season would be a good start. Now to another team that's focusing on a bounce-back year. The Patriots, their first-round pick, Mac Jones, is getting some love from his former college teammate, Jalen Hurts. Hurts saying recently that because of Mac's unique college career, where he sat behind Hurts and Tua and then went out and won a national championship of his own, has set himself up for a successful NFL career. Right, guys? It's Cam's job to lose, apparently. Newton saying he feeds off the haters. And on the other side, Belichick not shy about pulling quarterbacks if he feels there's a better option on the roster. So how do you see the Patriots quarterback situation playing out, Baldy?
Well, I think it's Cam Newton's job to lose. I think whatever Cam Newton has left, we're going to see the best of it. The roster around him has been greatly improved, not just offensively with weapons, but defensively. They're a much improved football team around the quarterback. Now, Cam was benched twice last year. He was benched against the 49ers at home, benched at home in Week 16 against Buffalo. And he just wasn't moving the team. He was making way too many errors. Now, Mac Jones comes in. I've never seen a quarterback complete 78% of their passes at any level. High school, college, pro, I've never seen it. We watched Mac Jones do it this year. I mean, if he's out there and he's completing passes around the yard out there at Gillette Stadium all preseason long, I mean, maybe there'll be a push to get Mac Jones on the field. But I think for right now, the way that Cam Newton can really help out a running game, the way that he did it last year, and the weapons around him, it's his job to lose right now.
And Baldy, when you look at the way the offseason went, I think there's a few things that we were made clear of. And that's one, this is Cam Newton's job until somebody beats him out, and that has to happen. Two, what Mac Jones did during this offseason in OTAs and minicamp can't really be ignored. And I think that doesn't mean he's going to take the job right now, but he did open some eyes in New England with the way his decision-making improved over those 4 weeks, the way he was decisive with the football. And they did not handle him with white gloves. Talking to people in New England, they really wanted to push him and try to get him ready as quickly as possible. It's something Bill Belichick likes to see with him and his staff, and they've been working on that very hard with Mac Jones. So I do think if you talk about the accuracy issues and the inconsistent play that Cam Newton had a year ago, if you see that again over the length of training camp for periods of time, that would open up the door for Mac Jones a little bit. But one thing he is protect the football. Threw a couple of picks during the offseason. Again, that's a learning portion of time. That's a time where everybody's picking up the playbook. But at the same time, if he protects the football and is accurate with the football, we know that's a recipe that Bill Belichick does like if Cam Newton sputters in any sense.
Yeah, obviously the Patriots need improved quarterback play. On paper, they've dramatically improved that roster, hoping to put it all together and get back to the playoffs. Now to a quarterback I know you both are familiar with in Carson Wentz, who had a roller coaster of a first act in Philly, and now he's been reunited with his former OC in Frank Reich in Indy. Wentz hoping that this next chapter has a better ending.
I really feel like I have a new passion for the game now that I've seen. I mean, I've been the high, I've been injured, I've been now benched, I've been traded. I've kind of seen a lot in 5 years. And so whatever the game throws at me, I'm ready. And it's kind of given me a new level of excitement for football. Obviously, I'm excited to be with my former offensive coordinator, Coach Frank Reich. Loved that man to death, and just met a lot of new faces in Indy and a lot of people that I'm really fired up to play with.
All right, guys, Baldy, you know the Philly media can be blunt at times. James, your dad's been a part of that Philly media for years. But Carson's play towards the end gave them good reason to be. Will a fresh start in Indy get Wentz back to playing at that MVP caliber level?
I don't think this is just as easy as putting a different uniform on with a coach that he likes. I mean, there was a lot of dysfunction on Carson's part. I mean, whether it was his inability to communicate and really galvanize the team around him, that's the quarterback's job. Build the relationships, keep them going. You just can't shut down the way Carson did in Philadelphia last year and just not have relationships. So, look, fresh start's a good thing. This is a playoff football team that the Colts have. They were the 9th best offensive football with Phillip Rivers at quarterback at his age and no ability to run. They were the 9th best offensive football. Frank Reich has a commitment to the run game. It's undeniable, and that's going to help Carson. I think he's got a lot of young talent around him that should excite him. They'll be in a 3 tight end offense. They won a Super Bowl with a 3 tight end offense. Carson will like that. They got studs on defense. They're a very good football team. His job is to not just win this job, but elevate the team around him and get them back to the postseason and start winning in the postseason, because that team is built for the postseason right now.
And Baldy, you're so right about what he has to do for the environment that's around him. Frank Reich has talked obviously at length this offseason about his relationship with Carson Wentz. They stayed in touch in the years when they were not even within the same organization, texting back and forth. That's a relationship we see as the one that Carson Wentz wanted. And if you talk to people that have worked with Wentz in the past, they'll say this is the perfect spot for him if he's going to change it. But to your point, Reich also says repeatedly, it's what he does with his teammates, which is more important than my relationship with him right now. That's something that needs to adapt and grow as he spends this offseason with those players. And they have spoken glowingly about him. Obviously, that's what players are supposed to do about their quarterback, but it's almost been above and beyond in some instances, which is a little bit interesting. But this is a fresh start for him, and coaches that have worked with him in the past have been frustrated at times. This could be the one guy that always finds a way to get to Carson Wentz's mindset. Potentially, this could be the great landing spot for him. And Baldy's exactly right. That running game is dynamic with multiple pieces that play the position differently that can help him out. That left tackle spot's one early on in the season, though, Omar, we do have to keep an eye on before Eric Fisher gets healthy.
Yeah, you can argue that maybe the Eagles kept together that Super Bowl 52 winning roster a little too long. The cupboard was bare toward the end of Wentz's tenure there in Philadelphia. Can't say that now about that roster in Indianapolis. No. It appears to be loaded. That excuse is now done for Carson Wentz. Gentlemen, stay tuned throughout the show. Much more from you straight ahead. Obvious camp battles to watch include Andy Dalton and Justin Fields in Chicago.
In each game during their toughest four-game stretch of the 2021 season.
The ball comes your way, fly around and make on him.
Starting with a rematch of the 2020 AFC Championship game against Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and the Buffalo Bills.
He left you 6 feet. You gotta took the ball from him.
Kansas City then goes on the road for 2 games against defending division champs. First, the Washington football team, and then the Tennessee Titans. The Chiefs then return home to face the New York Giants before another marquee matchup with reigning MVP Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers.
Let's go!
New head coach Brandon Staley and the Chargers will be challenged quickly this season, as the team's toughest 4-game stretch is in weeks 1 through 4.
Touchdown, Chargers!
Joining the Detroit Lions as the only teams to start with the most difficult 4 games. Second-year quarterback Justin Herbert will not be able to ease into the season, as he faces potentially the best defensive line in the league in Week 1 when he goes up against Chase Young and the Washington football team. Los Angeles then hosts the Dallas Cowboys before traveling to Kansas City to take on the defending AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs. The stretch concludes with the lone game where I have the Chargers favored, taking on the Raiders at home.
Caught Keenan Allen into the end zone. Touchdown, Chargers!
The Las Vegas Raiders' toughest 4-game stretch this season doesn't come until weeks 12 through 15, when it starts against a former Raider in Amari Cooper and the Dallas Cowboys.
Come on, bro. What else would you rather do?
Las Vegas then hosts Chase Young and the Washington football team before 2 tough road games. The Raiders face the Kansas City Chiefs and Cleveland Browns to round out their difficult stretch in games where they have a win probability below 40% in my model.
Fires to Renfro. Touchdown. And it's game over, baby.
Yes.
Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are big favorites again in the AFC West. But will the Chargers or someone else challenge them?